Howdy, everybody. I'd like to talk about self-worth. Um, I was having a session with my therapist, and this topic came up, and it got me thinking. Um, where does my self-worth come from? Where does, other people's self-worth come from? And it seems to me that I've done a little reading about it, and people, professionals and people who've thought about this way more than I do have, talked about it more in depth and more insightfully, but I guess I just want to talk about my own perspective. Um, yeah, it seems like there's sort of like two kind of ways you can go with this, and I guess you could think about it and there'd be more, but the way I think about it is, you can get your self-worth from, other people, from your position in society. Do you have a nice job? Or is your job, does it provide, a great status for you in society? Um, you know, these sorts of things. Do you have a relationship with somebody? Do they give you that feeling of self-worth? Um, and then there's, having an inherent worth in yourself, regardless of external factors. Um, and the way it seems to me is that, the first one, having it being uh, so swayed by the world when it comes to feeling worthy and having respect for yourself and yeah, having worth, having self-worth, having a good opinion of yourself and valuing yourself. Um, those things change all the time. That job that provides you so much respect and status in society, how much money you make, those things can change. Relationships change, uh, reputations change. Maybe you move somewhere, you don't have that same level of respect from the people around you. And also, it's a kind of a, I think, a pseudo kind of self-worth, I guess, because you're not really, it's so dependent upon those things, but it's not necessarily very dependent upon your own qualities, you know, and your own worth. Uh, and I think that that's really the ideal way to have worth, you know, um, developing your character, um, being kind to people, um, and even just the fact that you are you, despite your flaws. Um, and yeah, and it's also, once you get that job, once you get that relationship, there's a honeymoon phase where, oh, this is great, but then it just becomes normal, and then you want the next thing and the next thing. But if you have that inherent worth, those things are nice. It's not necessarily that I'm great and I don't have to do anything. It's just that those are things to add on. But you still have that um, respect and worth inside yourself. And I think it's something that I'm trying to develop because I'm not somebody who has great status in the society, and I think it's kind of cliche to say, but especially in my country, at least in America, money and status and having lots of things. I mean, these are regardless of what people say, these are highly valued values, in quotes, values. Um, but yeah, it reminds me of there's a story in ancient Greece. There was a philosopher, Diogenes. He was quite a character. And regardless of whether he was he kind of was a cynic, and he would do what some would consider strange and cantankerous sorts of things. Uh, but yeah, he was homeless and he lived in a tub. And there's stories of him wandering around during the day with a lantern looking for an honest man, and apparently he never found one. So, but anyway, the story goes, and it's probably not. I don't know if it's true, but um, Alexander the Great comes and visits, and he's interested in philosophy, and he hears about this philosopher. He wants to meet him, and Diogenes is bathing in the sun, and Alexander comes up to him, and they start talking, and eventually Alexander says, I can give you anything you want. What do you desire? And he says, can you stand a little to the side? You're in my sun. And the guys around Alexander's, sycophants and whatever are laughing and, about it. And Alexander says if, he has respect for this, that this guy who doesn't have all this power and, status and wealth, that he is content. And regardless of what you think about his, he would masturbate in the streets and do all sorts of, things that are not smiled upon in even back then. Um, but this was a guy living an honest life, according to his values. This was a guy who, according to his values, he was living the life he wanted to live, and it wasn't dependent upon these kind of pretentious um, things. It was a deeper honesty that he was content with, um, and I think that's what you know I'd like to make improvements in my life. I'd like to do things, but if I don't have that worth going into those things, it's going to be a fool's errand, looking for something to fill that hole, to puff me up, to, have others, seeking other people's flattery and, praise but, and that might feel good, but it will never really, have that deeper, I won't have that deeper security in myself, you know. Um, if I'm so focused on what other people value, um, I don't know. I'm just thinking about this, and I thought I'd share and kind of flesh it out. I watch my videos sometimes, and it helps. It's kind of like writing in a journal and then reading it back, and it's just helpful to kind of get it out there. And I'm always interested if anybody has any thoughts. Feel free to write them out. All right. Hope everybody's doing all right. Take care.